Well, this morning we are taking a look at how to talk to your kids about racism and address maybe the video that they've been seeing on the news of big protests, also looting and violence all around the country. So Dr. Anna Shire, child adolescent psychiatrist, is joining us this morning. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
This is definitely a stressful time for everyone, but how is this impacting kids specifically?
Kids are so vulnerable in that we think that they don't really understand what's happening, but even the younger ones absorb the feelings of their parents around them. So even though we may be trying our best to shelter our kids, they're still feeling the impact of it. And that's right on top of the heels of the stress that our entire nation is feeling regarding the pandemic and the financial ramifications, et cetera. So I think in general, feelings and fears are heightened, but then to have this on top of it, it's just all the more stressful for everyone, and kids feel that.
Right. How do we start this conversation? Because it's an important one, and it's one that maybe even a lot of parents aren't even sure how to have themselves with, their friends and their family. How do you do that with kids?
Right, right. I think that's an excellent point. And I think really what's important is that we recognize that talking about racism is not happening enough. It's not happening enough with our friends, with our coworkers, but especially at home. And as parents, it's our job to raise our kids, and we want our kids to not be racist and to be accepting and to, promote social justice. An interesting thing is that kids as young as 2 to 4 are already absorbing racial differences and racial bias. So, having conversations, even as young as with preschool kids, is so important. And I think a lot of times parents think, wow, that's a really early time. And I don't want to be, focusing on it when I want them to, not think about it. But if anything, kids notice it, kids experience it, and kids see things, and they start to if you're not having a verbal conversation with them, they start to come up with their own ideas off of the role modeling around them. But I think it's a really good chance, especially with the younger kids, to talk about things in a very positive way. The difference is how the different races can help us open up our minds to different things, and how the color of your skin. It's all that is that we have melanin in our skin, and melanin protects us from the sun. The darker your skin, the more melanin. So it's kind of like, some people who have darker skin, they have more shields from the sun. And when you get tan, because you've been out in the sun, it's just that your body's making more shields to keep you safer from the sun. So really, we're all the same. It's just that we have a little bit of different pigment in our skin. And if anything, it's kind of nice because they have a little bit more of that because it protects us. So I think talking about things at a very young age and making it open and okay, and giving kids a space to be able to question, why is there a different skin color, and why did I see something happen to my friend, and it made me really uncomfortable and I don't understand. And as kids get older, they start to see more of these injustices and start to question it more. And that's really more with the elementary and middle school kids, where you really do want to have a simple, open, and honest conversation about racism and answer their questions, and not going into scary details, but also making an effort to help them feel safe, both safe within the conversation and safe given all of the things that are happening around us.
Well, I like how
And then
you.
it,
I
Mhm.
like how you make the point that even as young as preschool age children are being exposed, even if you don't realize it, because I've heard from people that why would you talk about racism when you could potentially be introducing it to a child? And you're saying that's not the case. They're already absorbing these things in society.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's one of the things that has kind of that fear has kind of led us astray, along with the discomfort that we all feel about talking about it. But I
Sure.
think that if at home we make it, a non-taboo thing to talk about, just like bullying, just like any other number of things that kids are unfortunately facing these days, it just becomes a part of the conversation, and they know that they can always share that with you, and that there's space for that it's okay, it's accepted. If anything, it's encouraged.
Possibly a difficult conversation for a lot of parents, but obviously a very important one. Dr. Anna
Yes.
Shire, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. Troy?
Dr. Shire is always great. Thank you for coming on.